man was murdered in the full view of customers, in the full view of families who went to buy coffee, in the full view of persons who went to buy chicken and chips in the Royal Castle next door, who went to fill gas in the gas station, which is physically on the same compound. Yesterday at Movie Town, families who went for dinner or who went to see a movie were confronted with a series of gang violence, fights erupted, persons had to run for their lives, and one man was shot. We in Trinidad and Tobago have now become like the wild, wild west where anything goes. Every day we see in living color and in real time criminals assaulting, robbing, and murdering our citizens. Imagine your infant child or daughter going to school, and when they were supposed to be learning to count and to read and to write, they have to be trained first how to duck and lie on the ground to avoid bullets from impacting them. You are not safe, ladies and gentlemen, in schools, in the grocery, in the parlor, in a mall, in a Chinese restaurant, by the doubles vendor, by the coconut vendor. You are not even safe in your own homes. Criminals do not care. It is not about race or color or where you are living or whether you are male or female or whether you are old or young. Nobody is safe in this country. Other countries are now warning their citizens not to come to Trinidad and Tobago because of the level of criminal activity. So when MP Saddam Hussein raised this matter of crime in the Parliament to urgently discuss this matter, there should have been no objection from any quarter because everybody is affected by crime. Everybody is affected by this crime tsunami that's burying this country in blood. Even Madam Speaker herself must know persons who have been affected by crime, persons who have been murdered, persons who have been robbed, raped, assaulted, battered. So you can imagine my shock. You can imagine our shock as a nation when the Speaker said no, crime was not important enough and it was not urgent enough to warrant a debate. Last night, a good friend of mine from Port of Spain said that for the Speaker of the House to deny a public debate on crime in the nation's parliament constituted a dereliction of duty, and worse, that it is parliamentary malpractice. That is what people on the outside are saying. That is what citizens are saying that is happening in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. That is cause for concern, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody was surprised at the pushback and the anger of the people against the government and against the Speaker for preventing the debate on the issue of crime. So when I raised this matter of flooding for debate in the very same Parliament at the last sitting of the House of Representatives 2 days ago, I felt that the Speaker and the government would have learned their lessons from the public outcry and anger. While thousands of homes were flooded and millions of dollars lost in property damage, acres of food crops destroyed, while tens of thousands were trapped in floodwaters, marooned in their homes or in their workplaces, I wrote to the Speaker of the House, saying that in accordance with the standing order of the House of Representatives, I wanted to discuss in the Parliament a definite matter of urgent public importance. I wanted to talk about, and I want to give you the headline of what I was asking. asking them, what do you all need? How can the ministry assist you? Pinal Debe Regional Corporation wrote, so did several other corporations wrote to them in response to that request, saying, give us some hampers. To date, nothing. The minister and his entire ministry, under him, missing. Children are forced to stay away from classes, some marooned in their homes, others stranded without transport for hours. And the ministers of education, both of them, missing. This is beyond shameful. This entire government has failed the country. This is despicable. It is a disgusting demonstration of the government's total disdain for the citizens of this country. Some of these persons who are ministers are elected members of parliament. These PNM ministers, some of them are elected members of parliament whose constituencies were flooded, and their own constituents have been reaching out for them, desperately seeking support. But these ministers, PNM councillors, are missing. And the most despicable of all of them is their leader. Here is a man who has probably had COVID more times than anybody else. But guidance and leadership when the country was in crisis. Her constituency was in superior, but she recognized her duty. She was Prime Minister for all. Today, I am MP for all, and I am advocating for the people of Diego Martin West, for the people who are represented by PNM MPs because their MPs have abandoned them and they need representation desperately, people personally and directly. On the other hand, Keith Christopher Rowley, when he learned that people, homes and businesses were being ravaged by floods, he left the residents too and said to hell with the citizens. And this is where he went to play. This is where he went. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where the Prime Minister went. This is where the Prime Minister went. Your Prime Minister. When citizens were flooding, when people were suffering, petrified for their lives and limbs, and yes, another person died in these floods, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody else died, and while this was happening, where was your Prime Minister? Here he is playing golf on the golf course. When Renata Agard and her son Brandon La Rosa were trying to pick up the pieces after being flooded out in Cali Bay, Rowley was playing golf. When Vidya Bryan from Limehead Road in Freeport was struggling to clean up and rebuild her life in the aftermath of flood damage to her home, the Prime Minister was potting. While she was trying to put her life together, having suffered tremendous loss, the Prime Minister was potting on the golf course. When Inisha Baksh Mohammed, a resident of the corner of Caroni Road and Prasad Street in Caroni Village, was counting her losses in the thousands and tens of thousands, not being sure how she's going to recoup her losses, the Prime Minister was counting his golf score. This is what this man was doing. This is what this man was doing while you were suffering, citizens. Now, I don't begrudge Mr. Rowley for having fun, you know. But when you put yourself up to be elected to office to represent and serve people, for God's sake, serve the people. If you have been elected to be Prime Minister, for God's sake, be Prime Minister. Grow up, Mr. Rowley. Grow up. There is a crisis. Lead